Boy, it's taken a while. Ah, here we are. We are live. The Hangout is live. And we are doing another episode of MyFriendsAreAwesome.com with another awesome friend. Again, from the Knox crowd. Well, first, let me just say, I'm Cameron Marceau. You know, people who are watching this, they know who we are. But, yeah. just to be like normal, like a regular kind of show type thing. And then my co-host and fancy hat wearing guy.
Capode, I think we call it.
He's picked the bling fez this evening for our guest. Oh, and he's got the Italian vino
as well. Thing out now, man. I got the wine, I got the chocolate, I got nice cheese. And I'm good.
But that was nice cheese, really? Is that what that was?
Cubed? I mean, what?
It was cubed.
I'm a Westerner. What would you want of me? That's nice.
Was it Velveeta? Was it?
No, this is aged Gouda. Thank you very much.
Okay. Our guest this evening is Caitlin Muelder.
Woohoo, Caitlin!
Also a friend of ours from Knox, because that's all we do at this point. Because there's so many cool people who I knew 20 years ago and have reconnected with, and because of Facebook, because Facebook is incredible and allows you to do that, and now we're like reconnecting in face-to-face kind of situation and chatting and having a really great time because it's great. And this coming Knox homecoming is my 20th.
Yes.
So I'm probably gonna slouch back to Bethlehem and and be there and see what trouble I can make. But aside from that, Caitlin, how are you?
Good. Have you been back previously to other homecomings?
I think the first one, but that doesn't really count. It's
like
go back to like the year after I graduated, I went because I knew everybody. But ever since I haven't really. And I did go back just randomly once to see the Eric Harnish Memorial, but that was about it really. So, but in any case, I just have to tell you that when you came and started performing at Knox, you and Alan came together. Did you plan that? Were you? Because that was a phenomenal time. I mean, you and Alan just owned the stage every time. I think I saw everything, all of the shows from that period on probably 2 or 3 times.
That means a lot.
I mean, I love theater anyway, but you guys were incredible, and I
admit, I to this day would love to have a chance to act with Alan again. And he's super.
Older of the group. Who's Alan?
Oh, Alan Doderline.
Oh, of course. Okay.
You knew Alan, right? Yeah. Okay.
I knew Alan briefly, but because I was elder to you both, and so I only tangentially know that crowd. Okay. Well, go on. You were saying. Tell me about that experience with Alan. What's going on there, and what magic do you guys two remember about that?
We actually met doing a thing called Illinois All-State Theater.
Oh, wow.
In high school.
Wow. Okay.
And various people from Illinois audition, and then they either do it at a high school or sometimes they'll do it at a college that's near a particular high school in the Chicago area, or it tends to be in Champaign to maybe represent the southern half of the state, even though that's more middle, but anyway. And just high schoolers audition, and they pick one play a year. I think it's still going. and it could be, it's usually something that's in the canon of great American plays, so they'll do To Kill a Mockingbird or Inherit the Wind or something like that.
Definitely.
And yeah, and we met, and it was when we were either sophomores or juniors, and instantly clicked and liked each other and found the same things funny, which is the basis for pretty much every relationship in my life. And and just got along, and we kept in touch. But this being long before Facebook or even email, because we got done with the play. We liked each other. Maybe a couple cards. That was it. I had no idea he was coming to Knox. He had no idea I was coming to Knox. And on orientation, we walked across the campus and saw each other in the Fine Arts Building, and we were kind of together ever since.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it doesn't surprise me that he's doing a kind of leadership role in everything he's done since he's left acting.
Sure.
Because he's now, I think, I'll get the title wrong, but it's the director-president of the Bipolar Association, Suicide Association of the United States.
Yeah. It's called the Bipolar Support Alliance.
Yes, and it's it's just so impressive. I mean,
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah. Like you are actually affecting someone's life, literally, not the way hipsters use literally.
Yeah.
But I really wish I could, and if all goes, according to my master plan of career, then I will just borrow him at some point so we can do something again, because there's just, I think it's probably like if you're a musician, that you probably just have chemistry with people you make music with, and you hear it the same way. So we tended to hear writing the same way, and we could just look at each other and know, you're going to hold for that joke, I know exactly what you're going to do with it, so it's the way you improv in music. Even if it is a traditional comedy improv, you still kind of improv when you're acting, and it just felt like what I think probably it would be like to play good jazz.
I can sympathize with that, because there are, in my brief career as a jazz musician, there were always certain players that I kind of knew what they were going to do with certain things. I kind of knew what they were going to do with phrases. I kind of knew when they were bored with something and they were going to start switching, and I would switch with them, and it would make the whole band sound better.
Yeah.
Make the whole piece go a different direction. Everyone's heard the same piece. Everyone's heard the same joke. The who's on first joke, but it's the way, the pattern, the way that these two do it versus those two.
So are you doing improv now? Is that because I saw that you work at UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade, or you've done things there, and like I've seen, or I've kind of tangentially become aware of them through like Nerdist podcast and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So and so are you hanging out with Chris Hardwick and stuff like that, and Jimmy Kimmel out in California? I mean, it's funny because when you like, if you listen to Nerdist, and as he's talking to all of these people, all of his guests, it's like they all know each other and hang out. It's like they're, I was over at Jimmy Kimmel's place the other day, and Sarah Silverman was dancing on the table, and it's like, what the hell? Everybody knows each other. It's his every part that I've ever done in anything that has anything to do with performing arts, like we'll call it traditional acting, and by that I just mean that you go theater and then maybe do TV and film that's mostly drama-based, maybe. That there's that world. So almost all of the people who have done regional theater in the United States, their degree of separation is probably 2 people.
Then, yeah, it's really tiny. And then in New York theater, it's even more. There's more people, but the chances of you knowing someone actually go up. Everybody knows everybody, or you dated somebody, or one of your friends did, or something.
Uh-huh.
And then there are little pockets. So voiceover people, that's a whole thing. Voiceover for cartoons, voiceover for commercial, voiceover for audiobooks. It's like there are little groups within groups within groups. And so if you're you specialize in something, like an improv is a really very fine-tuned art, and you have to commit a certain amount of time to it, you're just going to end up knowing all those people because it takes so many hours, and you love it. And but I didn't do any improv. I took a couple of classes in graduate school, and then I just kind of did improv without actually knowing that that's what I was doing in New York, because just making up characters and stuff. Yeah, but then I didn't, because in New York I mostly got cast in really very dark period dramas or just super bleak things, which are also really fun in a cathartic or artsy way. They are fun, And Tangent, every time you do a depressing play, you always have more fun off stage. The cast gets along better. Everybody's in a good mood. You're just laughing all the time, probably because the material is bleak. And in comedies, it tends to be that everybody's very serious, kind of checking each other out. You know what I mean? It's like you do the opposite. But that's for plays, and then TV and film. It's like there's a small pocket of it that's getting bigger in New York, but in LA, it's this whole other thing. And when we moved here, part of I love doing dark stuff, but I just really like doing character work, and I ended up taking classes at UCB and feeling like, oh, this is actually this whole other thing that I've always done, and I'm now seeing it that there's a whole world of it.
There's a construction to it. It seemed like you were doing amateur chemistry in the basement with the kids.
Yeah.
And no, wait, this is an actual laboratory. I know. That blows shit up. Woohoo!
Yeah. And meeting so many people in improv come to it from different places, and so you get actors or mostly actors, or people who are mostly writers, or people who are mostly directors, and I really like that. I like having a mix of things around. But anyway, it was just a fun thing, and then I just went all the way through and just started doing shows, and you meet people and they ask you to be in shows, and then it kind of snowballs from there. But even within that, I'm probably on the farthest ring out if there's like a bullseye for the improv world. You know what I mean? I mean, I know people and then I know people who know people, but then it's, kind of like I know some famous people on television, super famous, but they know Angelina Jolie.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know her, but,
sure.
But they,
yeah, 3 degrees.
It's like that. Yeah.
3 degrees. Because I gotta admit, part of me was excited about this because I really wanted your take on the improv scene. A dear friend and alum, Danielle Shula, has always, every time we see each other, she makes it a point to go, you need to go take improv classes tomorrow.
You're rich. I agree.
I'm dead serious. And I'm going, but, I mean, I loved you guys at Rep Term, and I hung out with the theater crowd when I was at Knox, but I'm by far a musician first. You know what I mean? And maybe she's got a point, because I enjoy jazz, and my strength is goofing around with jazz music. She's saying a natural fit to move that way. But you know, I really, my stage time is usually as an MC talking about biochemistry or introducing somebody important or, you know.
Yeah, but you're great off the cuff though, Shri. That's where it is.
And you're super curious. You're super curious about the world around you, so you have interests in a lot of different topics, and your brain is fast, and you make interesting connections between ideas, and the main saying in improv is yes and you tend to, I think, from my observation of one of the reasons I like you is you tend to yes and life. Okay, try. Okay, sure. Okay, how will this go? And that is improv. Like, you're a natural improviser.
Well,
I think you would be excellent and love it.
Well, well, as you know, in Chicago, we've got IO and we've got the Second City. I mean.
Second City. Yeah.
And either one of those has sort of like improv 101 for non-majors type thing.
Yeah.
You know, you pay a small fee and you learn the basics. You learn the little improv games that are played, and you hone in your skills on that. And they always pitch it as for executives who need to be able to speak better in front of the media, or to speak in front of a crowd, or in front of stockholders or whatever.
Yeah.
No, I wanna fuck around. I wanna laugh. You know.
Yeah.
I don't want to impress them. I wanna laugh at myself a lot more. Not hard, but
do it 101 and then go into 102, because the people who go to 102 are always the people who want to laugh, and it isn't just because this will help them at a convention in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
It's because they actually want to,
They want to go, wait a minute, I like that.
Yeah.
That belly itch is funny. I want to do that again. You know.
Yeah. And people who like
and I'm
laughing.
not drinking yet. You know.
Yeah. And people who like laughing with other people, who don't just need it to just be about them, you know, who find like assists in soccer is actually a pretty good metaphor. Like, it just bothers me in principle that everyone cheers for the goal, but like it's always the assist that got the anyway.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
You know, the thing I'm always impressed with is, did you see how the ball got from there to there to there? I'm glad it went in the little white net of magic, but I'm always more impressed the other way. And improv's like that because you kind of fall in love with how people's brains work, because you hear out loud how they made a connection between things, and then that's so funny, and an idea that gets tossed up, you're juggling, and then a new idea comes in, and you reference it later, and it's just fun here, making a laugh like with a group of people. It's really fun. It's really fun. You'd be great.
Oh, I was trying to see. My question was more of perhaps can you talk to the crowd who might be watching, sort of the evolution of the improv joke, your perception of it. You know what I mean? And perhaps going from, you might use a game to start. You know, one of the practice games, but sort of the evolution of the good conversation that creates the funny.
Yeah.
Dissect the improv experience in either as a game or as a whole. You know, open that. That's an open question for you to try and dissect.
Well, each school has a different thing that they focus on. So this is going to be a big generalization, but
please, and it's an open general question as it is. So.
Okay. I would say that Second City is the originator, and so they tend to have the broadest view, so that and they're teaching game, which I'll explain in a second. They're teaching character, and they're teaching story, and many other things, but that's right. And then UCB emerges through people who went through Second City training. And the thing that they became sort of specialists, and they're good at all of them, so I'm not trying to say they're not, but they became specialists at game. IO and other schools became specialists at stories, and the groundlings in Los Angeles are the specialists of character. That is a huge generalization. Everybody's good at everything. They're a little competitive with each other, so I'm not trying to...
Knox is great at their writing, while Grinnell is better at their biology. And they're all great schools, but they all have specialties. Right.
Yeah, yeah. And since I naturally do characters, and getting older, so it has its challenges as an actor, but it's actually more fun because I've always been more attracted to roles that, particularly as a woman, you don't usually get until you're of a certain age, and they're cantankerous, or they're complicated, or they're not necessarily as likable, and how do you find a way to make them likable? Anyway, so there are things that, because I do character, and it didn't seem like the Groundlings for me, although an amazing place, I wanted something that was what I felt I needed more work on, and something that I could apply to writing, and it would help me see it from a new way.
Sure.
And so I went to UCB, and they really focus on game. And game doesn't mean games the way, like Improv Olympics, which are awesome, but are essentially parlor games.
Right.
Improv parlor games. Game in improv has to do with really pattern recognition, which gets my science brain all excited. Because pattern, which is, it's at the root of, I think, our wiring is our excitement. We see a pattern, so we have we see a face. We see face in toast, even when it's not there. We hear patterns in music, and so then we get excited when they pattern changes. Jazz, it's so they're teaching you really to recognize patterns, and then how to use the pattern. If you get a laugh, that's acknowledging a pattern has started. Hit it, and if you can learn and then the timing of hitting it, and as important as keeping the jokes going is when to end it.
Sure. I was dissecting, and I use that word because I'm a biology major, so I tend to use clinical words. But I was dissecting stand-up comedy styles because I was bored. And I was looking at Chris Rock in particular, and I noticed that no matter what age he's at in his development, invariably he will always use a repetitive pattern to emphasize a theme that he's trying to get at with the story. The story could be boring. It's not that funny.
Right.
But when he's going, but then she said this, and then she said this. Yes. And he will say that very phrase like 6 times in a row, and then you're going, what did he say? What did he say? Then he throws it down at you, and you are just on the floor.
Yeah.
You're done. You're done. You're cracking up. You spilt stuff all over yourself. You're laughing your head off.
Yeah.
I think that goes back to, I think it sounds like that he took game to that level where he's using that pattern he's forcing the pattern upon us, and now we've got this, now we've got almost like a sine curve of, oh, here comes the joke, here comes the joke, here comes the joke, bam, and then he's going to drop that down, and here comes the next one, ow! And then I can see where they're honing that in. Of course, he's an old SNL alum, but
So Shri, have you taken a look at the YouTube video of Caitlin? She's got a
Oh God, are you kidding? I've been watching the whole thing. I love Ann Coulter. I'm in love with your version of her. That she talked to Jesus. Oh.
And I have to tell you, Caitlin, my family was trapped in Tennessee for a week, and there was nothing to do. We had car trouble and stuff, and we were stuck in a hotel. We'd cut the cable a long time, like several months ago. So we haven't had cable in our house for a while, and the kids kind of miss it. And so when we were there, they were like absorbing all the Nickelodeon they could.
Yep. Yeah.
And we saw an episode of the Thundermans.
Oh, great!
And I was like, wait a minute. I know that person. It was, yeah. It's one of those things that when you see somebody out of context, it's like, whoa, that's so I tried to explain this to John McCurdy when I said I watched him give a lecture about Benjamin Franklin, and it was like it's just so strange to see somebody you knew one way, and then 20 years later they're completely different. They're doing different stuff, but how was that? Was that fun?
So much. They're so nice, and you know, every TV network's different, and you could be on Nickelodeon and on it, depending on what show you're on, have a very different experience, I'm sure. But my experience with Nickelodeon is that even the suits in the network are actually really nice people and like their job, and like that their job is geared towards entertaining a kid. And that's pretty great, actually. Yeah, that's pretty great. When we did the episode, the director, who was just a wonderful guy, named Robbie Countryman, and a super director, you know, you do a kind of pre-show, let's go, and he said, yeah, the team kind of thing. Yeah. And he said something about, don't forget that this episode, a kid in a hospital somewhere going through something could see this and laugh for 10 minutes.
Okay.
And you don't always get that kind of.
Let's hope he doesn't have multiple, hernias or something. Just.
Yeah. That's right. That would not be good. But so they were just super nice, and the cast was great, and you hear a lot of nightmare stories about kid actors, but those 4 kids were all just wonderful people, especially the teenagers, because that's a time where if you're an actor, it's tricky. Your ego can, and they were both just lovely people. Good. So much TV is so much fun, and multi-camera it makes me giddy because it's a mix of everything you love about a live performance, because you do it for an audience, and the camera is back far enough you can have broad kind of Three's Company Mr. Furley jokes, and you can also so close that then you get certain things you can only do if there's a camera and you can't do if it's stage. Yeah. But I'm always happy to work, but if I ended up just being a kind of snooty dean for 10 years on a kid's show, I could love it. I would want to do other things on the side, but it was so much fun.
What's your path been like? I mean, since we parted ways, those many years, you've traversed both coasts.
Yeah.
And how did you decide? How did you end up where you ended up? Why did you move? Is there?
Yeah. Oh, I specifically didn't go to Chicago because I thought if I do, I won't try the other coast because I'm a little bit of a homebody, and I'm like
just 3 hours.
Yeah. And I'm like a 75% brave person, and then 25% of me is a worrier, and I'll just stay home. So I thought the 25 will win, and I might not go for it, even in Chicago, because the Chicago theater is an amazing market, and maybe I would have gone into improv sooner if I had, but what always really terrified me was New York, and so I went.
Yeah, you went straight for the fear. That's awesome. That's great.
I thought I have to it just intimidates me, and I'm going to feel really small, and I'm not going to have a clue what I'm doing, so that's probably where I should go. So I went to grad school first in San Diego, which was an amazing experience. And the program I went to, part of why I went there is that almost all of them end up in New York, at least first.
Sure.
And that was important because I realized, oh, California, like, oh, okay. This is okay with me. And then graduate school was amazing. I went to the Old Globe, and it's a really, highly esteemed, respected program, and they do classical plays, so you do a lot of Shakespeare and a lot of Ibsen and things like that, but you also do a lot of great American playwrights, so you do a lot of Tennessee Williams or Arthur Miller,
Sure.
And I was very lucky to get in because it's super competitive, and I was the only one who didn't go to a conservatory beforehand, and I was intimidated by that at first, but cheers for Knox, by the end of it, I actually thought I had quite an advantage as an actor because I'd been to a liberal arts school and didn't only study theater.
Step back for a moment. I understand conservatory in terms of a musical experience. Is it? Could you explain, if not for other people who might be listening, the conservatory for a theater experience?
For theater. So I imagine it's probably pretty comparable. There's the people who go to a conservatory, you take, I think, the most minimum required non-subject related classes to pass. So maybe you have one math or one science the entire time you're there. Yeah. And then the rest, it's like graduate school, but at an undergraduate level. So it's, you might be...
4 years.
That's right. It's exactly right. Okay. And so when I got there, many of my classmates had studied certain techniques that I had a sampling of but hadn't delved into. But and this is just a Caitlin opinion about actors.
Of course.
I prefer the actor who has had some really shitty jobs and has had a kind of more up and down life, because they have more to draw from and they simply have more empathy.
Yeah.
And empathy is the point of, like, anybody can be an actor if they have empathy. The only people who can't act are sociopaths. That's it. So if you have empathy, which all kids do, thus make believe, you can be an actor, right. I think. And so because I had done lots of different things, which actually Knox encourages, which is, now that all these years later and knowing many friends who didn't go to Knox, I realize how special that is.
Yeah.
I was a little bit, it was easier for me to draw from different kinds of things.
Sure.
And my learning curve was faster. So they may have had more time with certain things, but I caught on.
Well, so. Yeah, I actually will assert that in the sense that even coming from my background, which is biology, science, a very almost didactic experience, very academic, almost sterile experience in some way. I think I would be the quintessential nerd or bookworm had I gone to other college selection.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to be at Knox, and they let me play music on their dime. And that's a smack, and actually hung out with the theater folk and the music folk and the art folk and philosophy and talk shop. I wouldn't do that if I was stuck in a biochemistry lab on the IC campus. It just wouldn't. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, different.
And those places where you have to, go. I'm sorry.
No, but I wouldn't have made the cognitive associations that I make now.
Yes.
You know, and I wouldn't be able to converse with theater folk.
Right.
Or IT people comfortably, or whoever I'm dealing with, if I was thinking biochemistry all the time, which I would have.
Yeah.
I would have been stuck somewhere in a lab today, and we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right. Right.
I attribute that to Knox.
I do too, Sri. It's the older I get, the more certain I am that was one of the best decisions going to Knox that I ever made. Yeah. And it just, I think I was always a curious person, but it was a place that really sparked my intellectual curiosity.
Sure.
And I love that you had to, even if it wasn't just in a precept class, that I didn't have a single class at Knox where if you made a statement or an argument, you didn't have to then debate it and back it up through discussion. And as an actor, that and a person who is now writing more, that's so invaluable to be able to articulate and break down the debate of a thought.
Sure.
I mean, it's invaluable.
Walking
so, but I'm sorry.
Just walking through everyone's argument to be able to get to your point. Yeah, it's you don't learn that. I mean, there isn't rhetoric anymore, you know. But we were going through effectively rhetoric at Knox. We were going through that by having a beer at the Teak House with the editor of Catch, and on the flip side, you're hanging out with, oh my God, Brodel just poured this great protein pour, you know, or oh, that art installation over at CFA was just awesome. Who did that? You know, all in the same room, all in the same 10 seconds of you could jump from here to here just by offering another drink. You know, it was all right. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm with you in my Baileys. So.
By the way, you're doing great. No F-bombs yet.
Oh, hey!
I'm just doing a head count, just you know. You were concerned about that. I thought to.
Well, yes. Now it's good. Now I'm just feeling it at the tip of my mouth. Just.
Excellent. You know you want to do it.
Go ahead. It has to be organic. It has to be an earned F-bomb. It has to, you know. Yeah. But then I went from the Globe to New York, and I did a lot of regional theater, and then did some Broadway and off-Broadway, and that's amazing. And in the late, sort of the middle, what do you call them, aughts? The zero?
Okay.
There was a big shift that ultimately I think is good for actors in the States anyway, having more cross fields. They can go in. You can do TV and film and theater. You can do commercials and be a movie star. Where in England that was always the case, but it wasn't always the case here. The kind of shitty side was that those of us who were working at a certain level in New York, suddenly there was a shift in how New York producers started thinking about making money, and it was about getting A or often B or B- celebrity to come in and do a play. So that all of us who are working at a certain level had to start taking smaller roles, have to start taking understudy roles, which is it's a mixed blessing to get an understudy job.
Griffin on Broadway, I just don't see. No offense to Miss Griffin or her entourage, but I don't see it there.
Yeah. So then I thought, well, I loved California, and I want to do TV and film anyway, and I booked some Law and Orders and stuff in New York. That's such a small pool, and then I just started thinking where I wanted to just for life quality be. And New York never felt like home. It felt like a big learning experience, and I'm really grateful for it. But it never turned off. And I'm naturally pretty on, so actually quiet is the thing I need to. I'm like the most outgoing introvert you've ever met. Like.
Sure. Well, no, actually, I think there's face, and then there's face. There's what you want to present.
Yeah.
There's stuff you want to keep.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can't present if I don't have some time to just
the process.
Yeah, and the basic interactions with people. I mean, New Yorkers are amazing for sure, but it can make you really angry And I guess I handle sad better, because that would be what I would say about LA, is that it's beautiful, but if there's the downside, it's that it can be kind of vast and people can feel lost and sad. And maybe I just process those feelings better than claustrophobia, and like walking outside is a struggle, and literally to walk down the street is to somehow lose $20, you know.
Sure.
The aggressiveness of it. But I'm really glad I did it. So so anyway, Cameron, that's how I decided to come to LA. So, but it's like starting all over in some ways too, because you know it's a different market and whatever. But as long as I'm working, I'm happy, and it doesn't matter if the working. I love it when it's acting, but if it's directing, that's fun. If it's writing, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as long as it's something.
Cool.
Do you have a current personal, and again, I'm just coming from my perspective as a former musician, just for a moment. There are
Sorry
times.
if Matt meows, by the way. He's just walked up, so if there's meowing, it's just.
Oh no, that's cool. If there's meowing, it's probably my son. It's no big deal. There are times where I was really into playing keyboard percussion, and that's all I did. And I was really good at it, and then I started playing the drum kit. And then I got to a point where I was good at a certain style of playing. And that's what I was known for a good year. And then I dropped out of that to do something else. So the question is that given the vast places your hands are in, you're writing, you're directing, you're acting in serious roles, you're acting in comedic roles. Right now, what's your mainstay? What is your strength? In other words, what's making you money, or what's occupying your time now, and how is that influencing the things you A, want to do, or B, are looking forward to doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a loaded question. I understand.
Well, what makes the most money is acting, but it's the most sporadic. I don't know how long a job is going to last, and I don't know, I can't predict when it's going to happen. And I wouldn't say it's the most fun, it's the most of a specific kind of fun.
Sure.
It's the showiest fun.
Right.
And it's fun because there's other people around, and so it's group fun.
Right.
Writing is the most fun in terms of just pure creation and not having to need somebody's permission to do it.
Yeah, it's done on your time.
Yeah.
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 And being my you know, from a far admirer of science, probably seeps in certain ways that it does as an actor, but it does way more as a writer. Or it's a great place to kind of balance out the happy-go-lucky with my bleak side. And it's just fun to make a world, and it's fun to then give it to other people to do.
Yeah.
And then they do.
One of your places in New York now, is it not? You were telling me that? I thought I saw that in your message board, that you have a play that you've written that is in.
Yeah, I wrote a play for a festival and submitted it, and it got in, and so then I extended it and I just submitted it to the Humana Festival. So you know, who knows? I wouldn't hear until probably around New Year's if it gets in, and it's the biggest national short play festival, so it would be great. But I'm also just letting it go and try not to. You know. Yeah, but the 10-minute play is really fun. It's sort of like an Edward Albee meets Dr. Seuss.
Sure.
So there's a lot of rhyming couplets and things, and but then a lot of alcoholics by the pool. So.
Fair enough.
So that's fun. And then I wrote a pilot, which I'm really excited about, and just crossing every part of my body and any deities that exist. I'm hoping for their help because it has been one of the most fun and fulfilling artistic things I've ever done, and I did it just to do it for me, to see if I could, and then I showed it around to some friends who are fairly well connected, and they are beginning to now shop it around. So it's many steps away from ever becoming a show on television, but it's in the process of what happens if...
Got it in the digestive system. It's working.
That's right. That's right.
So
That's right.
You've got several arrows in the air simultaneously here. That's it's like so,
you know what? I was researching for this, and you inspired me to do something a little silly. I will say it has everything to do with you and this interview.
Oh, tell me.
My sons take a robotics course on a little 2-hour thing near the strip mall, in a strip mall near the big mall on the main drag up the street.
Yeah.
And on the main drag, just a couple of miles north, is a Guitar Center. Everyone's heard of it. It's the big box music store to get instruments.
Yeah.
And I had 2 hours to kill, and I had a pair of drumsticks in my car. I always do, just to hit things and hit children. You know, it's just what I do. So I took my drumsticks. I went to the Guitar Center just to try out the new kits and pretend I want to buy a snare drum and things like that. Yeah. And they had a sign on this excellent rock-out, kick-ass drum set. And I wanted to sit down and play it, but there's a big sign that says, if you want to play this, you have to sign up for a drum-off. And I looked at it and I went, I have a drum set at home. I don't really want it. And I went, could I do it? And I signed up. And so on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, I got to play in front of a crowd of people and do a drum solo, a jerk-off, just hit the drums and see what happens. Drum solo, which I haven't done since I was in my 20s, you know, and so I'm not practicing at all. I'm just gonna
go in cold.
That's what,
and they're looking for the next unknown drummer, and they're doing it at all their regional sites. And if I get past a certain thing, I get a gift card for free swag.
Awesome.
And the winner gets to be a studio drummer and $25,000. Now, I don't expect to do that.
No.
I don't ever. But I'm just going, I'm going to go in there and just play, see what happens.
But you'll get something. Yeah. Whether it's
I get to jerk off in front of a bunch of people. That's what happens. But, and that in and of itself can be very satisfying, let me tell you. Yes. But to be able to call myself a musician again, it's been a while since I played in front of a crowd. I have to go play in front of a crowd. And barring having a band, I thought maybe this could be something.
Yeah.
Actually, I wasn't really thinking until I thought through that after I signed up. What the fuck did I do that for? Tuesday night, I go to sleep at 9:30. What the hell? I got work in the morning. What? But
that's gonna be fun, though.
Oh yeah. I'm not gonna break their drum set. I'm gonna make it sound good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kids like to beat on it. I'd like to massage it. Yeah. Hello.
So, okay.
It's the wine. It's the
so Shri, I think it's time for the D20 questions.
The D20 questions.
I love these. I'm so excited.
No, yes and no. My dice are upstairs. Ask another question and get an answer from Caitlin. Let me run and get my dice, and then we'll go to the D20. Keep going.
Oh, I just have to tell you, Cameron, because I hope you'll love this. But when we were at Knox, I always from the minute I saw you, to me you were the Anthony Kiedis of Knox. Like I thought you looked so much like him. So that ever since I've known you, I can't see the Red Hot Chili Peppers and not think of you.
You know what? You're not the only person who said that.
Really?
Yeah, and I think that there's a picture on Facebook of me at Lake Story. I think Sarah Reynolds took that picture, and it's like me with the long hair and in the sun and man. So Yeah. But thank you.
My big stack of dice.
Part of it is there is a physical resemblance, but there was also something about his presence that reminds me of you.
Who's
anyway,
this?
Anthony Kiedis.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Somebody else.
Okay.
Hold on a minute. Let me get to the 20 questions. This is. Can you explain the 20 questions while I'm getting set up there?
So this is we've got nerd dice because we're nerds. We grew up in the 80s, and so we during college we hid this it was the terrible thing to admit. But now that we're all old and ugly, we don't care, and so we carry dice bags. So
I carry a sack, buddy. I don't know what you
a sack of dice. So we're gonna roll a D6 number cube to determine how many.
No, this one actually happens to be a dice. I pulled out.
Oh, it's an actual die. Oh,
it's
wow.
actual die.
And then that determines how many questions we'll ask, and then the D20, the 20-sided die.
It is right there.
For our 20 questions. And Shree needs to rewrite some of them because he keeps bailing on some of the questions.
I keep bailing on the questions I picked.
I know, he says that they're stupid, and so it's like, it's more like a D16 question.
No, I get final. Here's the thing. I get final arbitration because I get to ask the questions.
I know.
So it's, again, what are you going to sue me? Come on. The number is 5. The number
5 questions.
5 questions. So I'm going to roll this dice, and I'm going to show you what it is. Number 11. 11. Cake or steak? Cake or steak, and why? I read it right off the thing. Now
just look at her Twitter. Just look at her Twitter. It says it all.
There's no question. Cake.
And
I've had 3 candy interventions in my life. No joke. Interventions. One was at Knox because I just ate the peppermint ice cream and Lucky Charms because growing up we only had healthy cereal, and then when I went to Knox and there were just bins of sugary cereals, I was like a Coke fiend. It was So sugar is a thing that I have to keep in check because I tried being vegetarian once and all that really meant was candy bars. Yeah, it's cake, and specifically crunchy, less expensive icing cake, where you can almost crunch the granule of sugar, or like a hard flour, no fondant.
Wow.
Just icing cake. Oh, cake, yeah.
So wait, so now just off the cuff. Is cake going to beat pie? Is it going to beat other things? I mean, do you have a hierarchy of sweet
sugar delivery systems?
I do. I've always felt that I had a separate stomach, at least that's what it feels like experientially, that's just for sugar, because I can actually feel full-on food, and then if something sweet comes in, I'm suddenly famished, and there's actual, I'm not in any way full anymore. Like my brain just switches and says yes to the sugar. Okay, it would go cake, all cakes before pie, unless the pie is key lime or a chocolatey peanut buttery pie. But before traditional fruit pie, we'd go through all the cakes.
Right.
I'd go cupcake before pie, but what my favorite is just straight is cookie, just cookies. Oh, cookies.
Okay.
Oh God.
I got the next one.
Yeah.
Okay. And just because I'm getting shit from Cameron, I'm gonna read these straight out, and let him decide if it's a valuable. Wingtips, cowboy boots, hiking boots, sneakers, sandals, or slippers, and why? Let me repeat.
Okay.
Wingtips, cowboy boots, hiking boots, sneakers, sandals, or slippers, and why? And just to make sure that you got that, I'm going to copy it and paste it onto the chat on the side.
Okay.
That way you understand the question. There we go.
Okay.
That's the question. I did not write this question.
I'm going to say...
It's a great question, though.
It is. Because I like that it doesn't include all kinds of footwear, so you have to choose from within these things, rather than just...
Subset of all footwear. That's correct.
Yeah.
Though I imagine that if there's a particular footwear you're passionate about,
yeah,
you can ignore this and explain why that is your...
Okay. So because there's two different kinds of boots, but it's not boots as a general subject. It's cowboy boots or hiking boots. If it had just been boots in general, I would have said boots. I like feeling a snug calf. I like that.
Right.
I also like snuggy things that are my poor husband. I love like the higher granny waisted the underwear, the more I love it. If you could pull your underwear like up really high, that I would like it to just almost be like underwear into turtleneck. Like I just love it.
That's a pretty big.
I wouldn't want necessarily low cut.
What's your opinion of UGG then? The UGG phenomenon.
So wait.
Yeah.
So you want to be strapped in? That's kind of.
Yeah. I wanna feel like that, but then I want to have a big sweatshirt on top.
Okay.
So there's that. I'm blanking on their name. That song about I want a girl with a short skirt and a long jacket. That's how. Oh, okay, but shoes. I'm gonna say sneakers because they're one of those first shoes you get as a kid, and you have those weird thoughts like new sneakers will make me run faster.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it feels the truth of that.
I feel like that's like genetic, like because all kids say it. Well, like where did you get this? I said that when I was 5.
Right. Is that some kind of knowledge share?
It doesn't do that. The child believes that it's in the shoe, but effectively they're tapping that recently untapped or that resting potential from summertime.
Yeah.
They get to now actively use, and wow, I am faster. Woo!
Yeah.
And they start running my children run into walls and shit. So it's like they don't discriminate. These are fast. These are the fastest you ever got, Dad, and they'll pass out. Okay. It's what they do. All right, here we go. Dice number 3.
Okay.
Question number 3 is, okay, you're on Fear Factor. Remember that show, Fear Factor?
Yeah.
What event is going to be the most challenging? The workout, the maze thing in the first one, the freak out, where you gotta eat something squiggly.
No.
The freak out, which is the scary...
Where you have spiders crawling on your face?
On your face, or the gross out, where you gotta eat something unpalatable. And why?
It's definitely not the workout. I enjoy exercise, and if someone gives me a kind of physical challenge for fun in the moment, my endorphins kick in, and so that's fun. So it's not that. That's hard between the growth and the spot. I think eating something I found gross because certain textures. Oh, that's hard, and the act of eating it. When you feel nauseated and then you take even just taking a bite, it has such a visceral reaction. It's
so the gag reflex is hard to combat. While the fear reflex, having the snake around your neck, or the Indiana Jones thing going, the rats running around.
Swimming with sharks.
that's less of a fear factor than actually having to. Oh, I can see why. Because you have to make the commitment to take creepy crawly and put it down your gullet.
Right. Right. And it's having something I can talk myself into a state of calm with things near and on, but to ingest.
Yeah. You're taking the body of slime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remove myself in my brain from the situation once there's chewing and swallowing.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe with a little soy sauce and sriracha. That's about as far as I'll go.
That's right. That's right.
It says, okay, fine. Number 12, beer, wine, or other, and why? And she's drinking the fucking Baileys, for Christ's sake, so come on.
Okay, so wait, one more time?
No, forget that question. It's a dumb thing.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I think all of the above is fine. I'm just I'm putting my foot down, Cameron. Putting my foot down.
Then put your pen down then. Rewrite the damn things. It was hard coming up with 20 questions.
Every time. Okay. Okay, I got the question. And
okay.
What is your secret geeky pleasure and why?
Oh, there's so many. And maybe it's funny, it's like, how do I now decide what's geeky? Because what's geeky, society doesn't even say geeky anymore. So do I mean what I think is geeky or what the world, because I like a lot of things that are considered geeky.
I think it's however you define it. You know what I mean?
It would be like a passion that you have that you kind of feel afraid to share with everyone.
Okay.
Because people wouldn't understand that passion?
Yeah.
Okay.
You see, it would be surprising, something people wouldn't expect from you.
Let me think. Because I don't feel like I think my love of science is cool, and I think everyone gets that. Like, if you don't appreciate space, or if someone says they may have found a microbe on something on Mars, and you don't find that amazing, I'm not going to relate to you at all. So the
fact that they're thinking about it, even though it's a stretch to believe that there's one there, the fact that they're actually trying to test and negate that idea is a thing of itself to me.
It just gives me chills. Because then your brain goes off, and it's science means there can't be boredom, because you read about anything that anybody does like that, and whether it's the theoretical physicists and you think, oh, what an amazing way that they extrapolated those ideas, or it's the people who actually, which seems even harder, figured out how do I make an experiment that will actually test that fucker. I got one in.
There you go. All right. Now that we've crossed that barrier, I got a question for you from your perspective as a veteran theater insider. How do you think Professor deGrasse Tyson did as a TV personality in a produced mock? Now, it's not a documentary; it's a television presentation, an episodic.
Right, on Cosmos. I thought he did very well, and it's so important that, I mean, I can't, honestly, I personally, if I ever get a chance, I will thank Seth MacFarlane for backing that and for putting the money up to make that.
Sure.
Because growing up, I certainly, with being one of the only agnostic-y, atheist-y families in Galesburg, let alone what seemed like all of Illinois, it would have meant a lot personally to have an example of that voice being said on television that society was reacting to like it was cool. I think it would have helped me. It would have made me feel more confident, more secure that those ideas had a more mainstream acceptance. And anyway, with that said, my #1 love for all science documentaries is actually Through the Wormhole.
Yeah.
And
it's awesome.
It's just, and you can, I like shows that, not that Cosmos doesn't do this, but Through the Wormhole does it, I think, to a larger extent, that they assume the audience is smart enough that if they don't catch on, they'll rewatch or they'll look it up. And they'll they have many ways of taking a concept and then showing it through experimentation, and then showing that experiment in a metaphor, so that if you don't understand the exact math of it, which often I don't,
sure.
Because my background, but they can portray an experiment in a way that I absolutely can get my head around.
Yeah.
And then it feels like it's like I'm participating in science, and that I have a right to be excited about it, and even if it isn't my field, I can,
but the flip side of that is that In the Wormhole is on Sci-Fi Network, as I remember.
Right.
And you're talking about Cosmos, which was on prime time on, where football ought to be.
Yeah.
And physically where football ought to be on Fox Network. So they have different. I think McFarlane and Neil deGrasse Tyson had a different function in their presentation. Their presentation was to shout out to people who would not tune into sci-fi at all.
Right.
While the folks watching sci-fi, you've already bought in. So now we're presenting science to a point where I'm giving you the actual science. Then I'm dissecting it to make it easier for you to digest.
Yeah.
Then I'm processing the data so that you could come up with the soundbite.
Yes.
Or the soundbite is provided to you that you could pitch and go back to the beginning and understand it under that interpretation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And for that, I think that it's I hope it gets some sort of recognition through the larger scientific community, because and he, in particular, Neil deGrasse Tyson, is just so likable, and he's so effective as a communicator in being able to. This is gonna. This may be a strange thing to say, but before the Republicans just hammered Obama, Obama had a way of making people have expectations of what an African-American man speaker should or shouldn't be, have to confront themselves. Because if you had a racist notion of what a powerful black man was, Obama might, and I feel like the fact that that's right, that you have an African-American man as the voice of science, when largely the scientific community has been considered sort of the white man's club, that alone is a huge thing.
Right.
And like Obama, he is able to be friendly and be a gateway for intellectuals.
Sure.
That sadly, I think, during the Bush administration, it got kind of cool to be dumb, and that they really were interested in perpetuating that curiosity was a bad thing.
Yeah.
Facts. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Hearts and minds, baby. Hearts and minds.
Yeah. So I think that in a similar way, Neil deGrasse Tyson is a link for people that he can do in a way that only someone like him or President Obama or what's her face, the amazing senator from Barbara Jordan, African American woman who's in a wheelchair from the South. I mean, there are just things that does. Take all of that away, and then just his personality and his enthusiasm and his love for sharing that love. He's then has this kind of a goodness that he radiates like Mr. Rogers does.
Sure.
Like, this is a good, kind, well-intentioned person. So then he has all of that, and then he's got an edge.
Sure. So
that in debates, he has all this warmth and all this compassion, but he also holds his ground. So I can't say enough good things about him. Sure. I just think he's amazing.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, even though he he was the one who, you know, at the museum in New York got rid of the Pluto, and I found that very sad. I understand, but I just was a fan of it.
Yeah. My answer's there. This is the last question.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be, but this is the last question. 19. What is your favorite kind of pizza and why? Yes, I have to rewrite these.
Okay, so what's my favorite pizza?
Yeah. And why? The hard part is the why.
Yeah.
Why? Okay, taco pizza. Taco pizza at Happy Joe's. It's not a traditional pizza, no, but it just tastes so, it's just so fucking great. You think, why would I, that's going to be bad, have a taco on my pizza, and it is so beautiful. I'm not a foodie. I mean, I've had fancy food and I can kind of appreciate it, but my dietary standard is more like a kind of 13-year-old boy, and taco pizza is so glorious.
Sure.
It's so wonderful.
It's the gateway drug for your tongue. Yeah. I understand.
Okay.
From there, it's just, you might as well be mainlining Velveeta after that. It's just done.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. That was the 5th question.
That was the 5th question. You survived, Caitlin.
We could roll for a bonus question, but I'm...
Roll for a bonus.
Okay.
You want to go for a bonus question?
Yeah.
I'm just... we already asked that question. That was number 12. So I get to give you the bonus question.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
What is the I like the question that I wrote out. What is the oldest object you currently have in your possession, and tell a quick story about it.
Or are responsible for.
Or responsible for. The oldest object.
Wow. It's either a book or a stuffed animal from my childhood, and I've got a lot of them. So it's either a copy of The Little Engine That Could, or it's a stuffed buffalo. And yeah, and Little Engine That Could. I mean, you know, that just
gotta have it.
Even today, you know, you could read that thing and go, oh, it's all what I think, isn't it?
But it stayed with you. Where is it in a special place?
Oh yes, it's even up on a thing.
Okay.
Even on a little, I don't know if you can, I'll turn the computer if you can see. Oh, it's a little dark, but if we go.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
pretty
there's
dark.
the book.
But there's tons of books. And because I moved around a lot when I was in between Knox and graduate school and then regional theater, so I had most of my possessions just in my parents' basement in boxes for probably, I don't know, the better part of the decade. And so when I finally got all my books together, and this is, I was what, I think 30 before I had all my books, and it felt like I got my family back. Like it was a profoundly comforting feeling. And that book, I remember pulling it out and looking at it when I finally had all of my books, and having a really strong, almost like Ratatouille moment, reading it and thinking of silly, but how accurate that message is.
Sure.
And it's acting is a career that I certainly understand when people decide not to do it, and a lot of it for me is just making the decision to not quit, which isn't hard, but I've certainly had moments of, ooh, this can be brutal. And you know how when you choose that person and you also make a decision to unchoose, in a way, so that thinking you can, it's like you then have to unchoose self-doubt
Yes.
Which is an act, and that's something I have to keep unchoosing, because if the monitor comes on, then oh yeah. So I think probably that book, and so anyway, it has a special place where I put it. And if I'm really proud of something that I've done, I tend to put my script next to it for a while before I store my script.
It's sort of a point of
yeah.
I get.
I
get that. I have a similar sort of process that I go through when things are going good. I tend to refer back to certain places or points of success in the past, and one of them was Louis Armstrong Jazz Award I got in high school, and I have that over there. And every now and then, when I go, I had a really good day. I had a really good day. I'll glance over at it, and I'm going, all right, that's one of those days.
Yeah.
Let's salt that away.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about Homecoming, or you can't make it?
I may or may not make it this year because the show I'm directing now may get extended.
Yeah.
Right now it's opening on October 10th, and if it gets extended, it's going to run the next 2 weekends as well. And I think, knock on wood, it does. So I don't know about this year, but is next year?
Your class of '96.
Right. So I think I still have 2 more years.
You have 2 more years, yeah.
Worry about it.
But I'm going back for 20th. And if it doesn't get extended, I like to go to Illinois if I can at least twice a year. And I didn't get to go over the summer, so I'm just feeling a little itchy for Midwest.
Yeah. And by the way, congratulations to your dad. Lots of good things coming for his stuff. Lots of accolades and things like that going on. I've been keeping an eye.
Yeah,
it's nice to see.
It's so awesome. It's so awesome. And I don't know if it's common knowledge, but one thing that makes me especially proud of him is that his whole life he's had dyslexia, and so for him, a person who then reading was challenging when he was a kid, and then to love reading and writing so much that later in his adult life he would write stuff, and then I just find that really it's really inspiring to me, and also that he didn't really start doing any of the research until he was retired.
Sure.
And that's just I hope that I keep being that way, that I keep being interested enough in things to fucking try it, and have the guts to do that. Thank you. And okay. And then and also, his dad and so many of my Aunt Marcia and his aunts, and he had a lot of very highly esteemed adults in his life, and I think that might set you up to think, oh, will I ever achieve that level? And
sure. And was nagging on his head a little bit.
Yeah.
He used to have matched that at the minimum. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
I wanted to because I'm Cameron's date for Homecoming.
Yay!
A quick story. I went for the Teak House's 100th anniversary, which was the class of 2012, or Homecoming 2012. I went because, of course, my affiliation, and I needed to break away from my family, and they saw that I was driving me crazy. They needed go for it. And my wife, when she saw me come back in 2012, went. She knew that 2013 I was going anyway because it's my 20th.
Yeah.
And she saw how energized I was, being nostalgic for the last 3 days.
Yeah.
That we sort of made an agreement that I'll push forth and do whatever I need to do throughout the year, but I have those 4 or 5 days to get in touch with my sense. And the one thing that I always argued, that I really didn't come into my own perspective until I went to Knox and until I left that place. Everything that happened afterwards was sort of, okay, I have this foundation, loose that it may be. I have this foundation, and it was because of this 4 years I was here.
Yeah.
And everything I've done since has been a stepping stone from that 4-year section. So I sort of revere it by going back to it and reminding myself, wait a minute, what am I doing now? Okay, let's remind ourselves what we did then. And sometimes what I did then was just get pissed drunk.
Yeah.
You know, but it also was where did I go to lose my fears, my inhibitions, my angst? Let's forget about that. Put it down and let's just go in and revel in what you knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is my yearly pilgrimage, and so I get to see classes from every year. It's lovely.
Yeah. I think it's awesome you do that, and I totally understand and can relate to those feelings.
Well, if for whatever reason the world takes me somewhere else, my business or whatever else takes me somewhere else, I don't know that I'll be able to do it that every year. But now that I'm in the Chicago area and I can do it, I'm going to make an excuse. I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And I take the train. I never drive.
Well, that's fun too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Kim.
No. I was just gonna say, you know, we're over an hour.
We should probably stop.
I mean, I've had so much fun talking. I mean, this has been great. It's been great reconnecting and seeing, you know, what you're doing and talking about what you're doing. It's really, it's pretty awesome. And reconnecting with with everybody these past months has been fantastic, because it's just, you know, you just get to see all of this growth happening, all of this, you know, how lives have turned out and generated, and my God, you're one of the most positive, vibrant people I've ever met, and You've survived these past 20 years. It hasn't gotten you down. What's wrong with you? You should be bitter and angry.
Fat and bald, for Christ's sake.
That's right.
I don't wear the fez because it looks good. Are you serious?
It's whenever people say, like, you know, oh God, Caitlin, you gotta. And I do have a better diet now than I did in my 20s, but maybe it's just it's my diet. That's right. I enjoy Nerds Rope, and you can't take yourself too seriously if you're eating nerds that have been through sugar water, adhered to, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Amen.
Yeah.
By the way, just as a quick aside, I remember your freshman year because I was a junior, and I was going to practice. It was just freshman preset or freshman week, and I always went, of course, to Google girls. But I went to practice. I went to practice the marimba and the drum kit at CFA, and you were walking through. I think it must have been Adam that was with you.
Yeah.
And you had the long blonde hair. I mean, down to past the butt long hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you whipped it, and I almost thought you knocked over a statue or some piece of art, and you didn't want anyone to see it. And you like, oh my God, what did I do? And I was at the far end of the hall on my way walking in, and I saw you do that, and I disappeared because I didn't want to scare you, because you looked like it was a complete accident. But anyway, she had what I have. 4 feet of hair or something. It was down there, and
it was long.
It was long when you walked in your freshman year. I remember it vividly.
Yeah. You know, my parents had you know how they have, like, the names you might have been.
Right.
My mom had these, you know, Caitlin was on the list, Morgan, Thomason, a certain kind of. My dad's number one, no joke, Rapunzel. Rapunzel. And for a long time in my 20s, I had not a buzz cut, but I had super short hair. And I always thought when it was that short, it'd be so funny if my name had been Rapunzel. But you grew it out for your freshman year, or when you came in freshman year. I grew it. did you ever call, when Megan and I lived together for a while, we had an answering machine, and it was, maybe this was when we were seniors, I can't remember, but we recorded back before there were ringtones, and you would just have to put it up against some sort of
a tape deck.
Or a tape or a cassette.
Right.
We had a recording of hair, and
that
was our answer.
That Hair?
Yeah.
Hair the Musical.
No, it was Hair the Musical. Hair the Musical.
Yeah.
There's this weird section where it sounds like a guy's drowning and don't cut it down.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. Yeah. It annoyed people. Because you'd have to wait to listen to the whole thing before you could leave a message. But we thought we were very funny. So yeah.
That's awesome. One of my favorite albums. One of the first albums my parents gave me. Not a great decision on their part. But that was one of the first albums they had, and they saw that I was musically inclined, so they gave me the record collection. And the first thing I listened to was Hair the Musical, the original press for 1969.
At least it wasn't Wayne Newton or something like that, Shree.
No, there was other shit in there that was shitting on it. I believe Engelbert Humperdinck's greatest hit. And just the name alone, it's just beautiful. But the three greatest albums that I've ever heard was from that collection. Hair the Musical, thank you for referencing it. Jimi Hendrix's Greatest Hits.
Wow.
And of all things, Sly and the Family Stone. Thank you for letting me be myself again. The single. And I was dancing my face off, and I must have been 6, 7, and I was just, I was doing the freak. It was crazy. And
you could do that as a question. It could be like, what are the 3 albums you listened to most when you were in early before you were 10?
What are the first 3 albums you remember listening in your history? Ooh, that's a good one.
Because that matches you. Of course that you like those 3. Like of course you did.
Of course I must have.
No, because my first album was Rio by Duran Duran. That's so not
No, that's not you.
No.
No.
Well, although you'll always to me be sort of like capital R romantic. You know, when I think of you, you could have no hair, and I'll think of you with like long, golden, shining hair. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, baby.
You know, and that really is who I am. I should have long hair, maybe carry an axe or something. I mean, that's who I am. The thing is that, you know, I don't work at the Renaissance Fair, so, you know, and I had long hair into my late 30s, and I was starting to get like the old man long hair thing, and you don't want to be that guy, you know. It's just like, no. So I gave up.
You don't want the Terry Gilliam ponytail in the back? You don't?
No.
Oh, come on. That would actually give you a little bit of street cred. Dude, if you got it, flaunt it. I used to have an afro, for fuck's sake. Look at this. I got nothing. Why do you think I wear the fucking hats now? Do you think I like warm on my hat? The ambient temperature up here is in the 200s, for Christ's sake. All right. I gotta put ice cubes underneath this just to
cool off.
Unfortunately, look fantastic, but are not necessarily designed for ventilation. And there's got to be a way to fix that in some way.
Maybe it works better in a hot, dry climate. Maybe it's the humidity that's killing the fez thing. You know.
There you go.
I mean, it's from the goddamn desert. You know. That's what's the. It's got to be like maybe it's a cooling system when you're in the desert.
Right.
I don't know.
That will be my claim. Yeah. Bringing fezzes back into
direct sunlight block.
Okay, well.
Or maybe internal fan.
Well, you guys think so so much.
Solar panels up top and a,
Yeah.
and a little fan on the inside.
Thanks for coming on, Caitlin.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
I really I love watching all the other ones, so it's fun as you reconnect with people because we get to then reconnect with them as well. So it's really cool what you guys are doing.
On the quick.
Thank you.
On the quick, excluding this experience, you've watched a few of them. Were there any that struck you as, wow, I would have loved to have been on that one? Just curious.
The first two, I mean, there's several. The first two that come to mind, it's probably one where you got, Josh Garst was with you guys too, and the three of you just bouncing off of each other.
Okay.
And your tangents. But then I really enjoyed the Megan one.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
Jen Brown.
Or I'm sorry, Megan Scott.
And Jen Brown.
Yeah. Oh, Jen Brown. That's we're gonna see her at homecoming. Jen Brown, when you watch this, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll sign off now.
Okay.
Until next time, we don't know who it'll be, but it'll be more fun. It'll be and everybody who's watching, keep watching because we're just gonna keep going because it's just really fun.
We're having a good time.
Yeah, we're having a good time.
So watching you get progressively drunk on a Sunday. Cheers.
Until next time.
This is alcoholism.
Bye, all.
Bye.